All right. Good Monday morning, everyone. So it is beautiful here where I'm at. It's not cold. It's actually really nice and springy here. But it's Texas. So we're either cold and have an ice mageddon or we're hot. So right now I'm going to take it. I'll take the 84 and it makes me happy. But hey, everybody, happy Monday. We hope you guys are having a fantastic Monday. Amy here with Russell, Fern, and our lovely guest today is Lynda on Author Talk. So hey, you guys. So this weekend, I have to dive into it. My nephew turns 3 on the 23rd. So I went to his birthday party and it was like all dinosaur themed. We were getting our dinosaur on, right? And then I was monitoring Lynda's book launch, which happened on the 23rd, which you guys know me. I love book launches and talking about them and just watching the ranking go up on Amazon every hour on the hour. It's like this adrenaline rush for me. So it was an eventful weekend. But what did everybody else do? Russell, what did you do this weekend?
I went to my first Georgian Writers Conference.
Oh!
It was so organized. Friday and Thursday, I got emails not only telling you all the directions again, but they had a whole list of all the things you needed to do a writers conference right. I thought it was a great thing to add to their email. I think that Fern should steal that and put it on the Indapalooza one in September.
For the Houston Writers Guild.
Borrow is a nicer word. Borrowing it. It's a compliment. It's a compliment. Fern, what about you?
So I spent the weekend putting together some anthologies for my Writers in the School students. You know, I teach writers in the schools. I go a couple of campuses, and so this is the time of year in which their writing pieces have, you know, we've gone through the writing process and they're ready to publish. And so part of the WITS program is, and it's a really great organization, by the way. I highly recommend people to check it out, because Writers in the Schools, you know, they give these kids this experience of being published. So we put together an anthology, formatted. It's very simple looking, you know, nothing fancy, but they get copies. They get hard copies of their little book, and then we have a little publishing party, you know, and they get to sign each other's books and stuff. So yeah, I formatted all of that this weekend. So I did not see the outdoors.
You're not an outdoors person, you know, either, though.
Yeah.
So I mean,
I was gonna say that didn't really faze me.
I was like, I don't think that's new for you, Fern. I don't know.
That was not a big deal. That's not a big deal. But I have to say, it was very cute. It's very cute to see their little project come to fruition, I gotta say.
Yeah. And that's awesome. They're already going to be like published authors. I haven't even published a book and I'm 30. Like, I am slacking. Okay. I'm just slacking all over the place. Oh my goodness. But Lynda, what about you? What did you do this weekend?
Well, if you're slacking at 30, I don't know what my story is. Because I was 51 when I first got my first book published. But back to your question of this weekend, it was pretty exciting. I'm on my cross-Canada book tour. As you know, I'm a Canadian. I live in Saudi Arabia, so I had to endure, first of all, 2 weeks ago, flying out of beautiful hot desert weather to freezing Canadian. It's supposed to be spring, but it's still winter. And I've been hopping my way from Victoria, Vancouver, Calgary, Winnipeg. Now I'm in Halifax, where the book launch happened, where my publisher lives.
I would so much love to do that.
Yeah, it's really been an incredible experience, Russell. Just having the time of my life. Lots of learning curves. I wrote my blog this month about self-growth and transformation. It was like 8 pages instead of the usual 3 or 4, because there was so much growing going on. But it's stretching, like real growth. But, you know, it was fun. And I feel really fortunate to have this opportunity. So yeah, the second book launched, and we had a big launch party, and things are good.
Nice. Wonderful. So a fun weekend and a book tour. That's cool. So how many places did you have signed up for your book tour?
Well, I'm doing 6 cities in 5 weeks. So there's one more left, Toronto. My young family friend and a couple that my husband and I are really good friends with. So it's going to be a blast. 5 days of insanity. And I have a book tour, or not a book tour, an author signing event at one of the Chapters Indigos there. Chapters Indigo here has been amazing. Every one of them has hosted me in each city and helped me to promote the books and put them into their system. So it's been pretty fun. Seeing my book on the bookshelf for the first time was like, yeah.
Yeah, I bet that's an amazing feeling. Oh my goodness. That's amazing. So how long was your flight from Saudi Arabia to Canada? I love it.
Oh my goodness. Well, so we flew from Saudi Arabia, Riyadh, to Frankfurt, Germany, which was about 7 hours. And we had a 6-hour connection. Wasn't too bad though. We were in the Maple Leaf Lounge. It's a pretty sweet setup. Even had a shower. And then 10 hours from Frankfurt to Vancouver. So pretty long, and 11 time zones. So it knocked me down a bit, but I didn't have long. I had one big crash out, and the next day, boom.
Oh my goodness.
Calling up the bookstores.
Yeah, you had to bounce back. See, I'm not a good flyer. I'm not a good flyer. So you're talking like 17, 20 hours. I don't think anybody would like me, one, on those flights or just after the fact, especially going through 11 different time zones. So kudos. I'm going to live vicariously through you because I can't. I'm just a really bad flyer. I'm the person you don't want on the plane. Like, I am the one that if there's any ounce of turbulence, I'm the one that's like, oh my gosh, wait, no, okay. I'm like, holding on. I grab you. You just don't want me on the flight with you. And at least I know that and I stay away from them. So that is, yay, that is amazing. So Russell, you were dropping hints earlier before we got on about this news that you have. And I'm, kind of dying here. I would love to know what your news is.
Okay, I was so excited. After our podcast last Monday, my wife was working from home that day, and I guess it was maybe 30 minutes later, an hour later, and you had just downloaded the podcast onto the channels, and she got a notification on her phone that the newest author talk was available. Wow. And that was so exciting because what that says is that all the people that are listening to us on the podcast get notices that when you download. And I didn't know that was something that happened because I'm such a nerd, right? And so I was so excited about it. Lynda, we are on all the podcast channels. We're shockingly in like the top 10 independent podcasts on Good Pods, and we're in the top 100 now.
Yeah,
and
fabulous, Russell. Congratulations to all of you.
We can't believe it.
Yeah, we're just shocked people are actually listening to us. We just enjoy doing this for fun, so it makes it even better for us, honestly.
Anyway, that's my big news. People are getting notifications of us.
Okay, but here's the greatest part of that story is Melinda could find us. Did she have a hard time, or was it just you that had the hard time finding us?
I'm this dumb one that can't seem to find us on podcasts, though I have now because I've been so inspired, especially a couple of weeks ago when we got on Amazon Music. I couldn't believe it. But we're on, Good Pods, Amazon. What else are we on, Amy?
We're on everything. iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple, Google Play, all of these other ones. But here's the really cool thing, Russell. I have a fun thing for you too. So besides just uploading the audio portion, which you guys know gets distributed everywhere, I can now also upload our video to be distributed everywhere also. So now you can see me talking with my hands and my overly animated self all over the place, and not just on Facebook. But if you want to see it live in action and not after the fact, make sure you go to our YouTube, you can go to our YouTube channel. We're live there. But you can also go to our Facebook group and join our group and watch us live in time, interact with us, because we absolutely love interacting with everybody. Or you can find any one of us on any social media platform. Make sure to friend us. or like our pages, because we are all about engaging with our readers and our listeners. And just thank you guys for listening to us, because we're still just amazed and grateful. So thank you very much. All right, you guys, I have a puppy update. Russell, you're
by the
going
way,
to
Amy, I think your gestures are great.
See, I love it. Someone that loves that I talk with my hands. I'm just very animated. I can't not. I like if I sit here with my arms crossed, I don't know what to do, and then I fidget, and it just gets really bad. And I am not responsible for the faces that my face makes. Okay, I control what comes out of my mouth, but not my facial expressions. I'm sorry. But no, Russell, you're gonna love my puppy update for you, okay? Because I went to training Wednesday night. Okay, so you guys know I have training Wednesday night. One, my puppy put on 4 pounds in a week, Russell. My puppy is now like 3 pounds shy of 40 pounds. He's not 5 months old, okay? Just throwing that out there. But here's the best part about my dog, right? I paid all this stupid money for training, okay? So he'd be a good dog. He walks in. I have a picture. I'll put it on Facebook later. I call it the wall of shame because he is so non-confident and timid. We have to have a barrier so he'll do anything. And he literally laid down after the barrier was there and fell asleep the entire training. Like there was nothing. And then he didn't like my treats. He spit them out at this training. I got the premium treats for this bougie dog. Okay. He still spit them out. So the lady had to go and get treats off the shelf and give them to me to give to this dog who I guess has premier taste that likes dog treats that are $30 a bag is what this dog likes. So he's going to I can't afford him and his appetite, I guess. But he slept the entire time, you guys. He slept and drooled. He didn't wake up. And he looked at the lady when she went to give him a treat and looked away. It was just, we were in, I call it the bubble of shame is what I called it for the entire hour. Didn't do anything. I don't think he learned anything either. So it was, it was fun. It was fun with this 40
I'd say Amy learned something.
Yeah. Well, I'm jealous because no one's been proud of me for gaining 3 or 4 pounds. I've never had that joyful experience.
Well, the big issue with the pound situation is that, Amy has never had a big dog.
No,
she's never had small dogs, but she's in shock at the fact that this little guy is actually going to be a very big guy.
He's not little. I mean, he weighs like 2.5 of what my little dog weighs. But the best part about this whole thing, besides the fact that this dog slept the entire training, is then she asked me, she's like, does he, wait for his food at home? Because he's, really just animated at home. And I was like, well, no, I mean, he kind of walks off and then comes back. So then she told me he doesn't like my dog food and that I need to get a certain dog food. I'm telling you, I can't afford this dog and his bougie food taste. I don't know where he got that from because there's no one in my house that, no, I'm having to put chicken broth on his food so he'll eat it. It's a whole process with this dog. I did not believe that dogs were this way. I'm going to have to get him the refrigerated food, I mean, that's how no. Okay, I learned a lot on Wednesday with this dog. A lot that I thought I was bougie and high maintenance. No, it's this little guy that's not even 5 months old yet. So it's a process. So Lynda, back to your stretching and everything. I'm definitely stretching in that area. I don't know what I'm doing. I have no idea at all.
Well,
one session at a time, right?
Yeah,
next week will be better, I'm sure of it.
Exactly. I'm hoping that it's, who knows? I'm having to carry this dog to my car and put him in. And I mean, he's getting heavy. I can't, that's my workout for the week is that one trip. I'm just, no, I can't. But thinking of stretching and amazing things and learning curves and all of these things going on, I'm going to kick it to you, Fern, and let's get Lynda talking about her books.
Yeah, so Lynda, congratulations on the release and launch this weekend. So this is your second book, right? But it is a prequel in terms of, with your other book, tell me a little bit about how that ended up being the case. Like, how did you end up going kind of backwards in time versus in forward? And, how did that happen? I'm curious.
Yeah. All right. Well, I actually do get asked that story a lot, especially when I have had both books out for display on this tour. So I wrote The Healing first because, I was inspired to write that book, and I started writing it back in 2018, but it took a while, maybe because it was my first book. There it is there on the screen. And that was it's fiction based on real life. And I started that based on an inspiration of some difficult things that I got through that I felt were worth sharing with people, especially women who are in difficult situations and relationships, because it's a happy sort of ending. And after I wrote it, one of the reviewers in particular was very curious about that backstory of the difficult relationship that it picks up as just when she's left. And so she'd asked that, and then a few people were curious about some other aspects that were only hinted at. And so that gave me the inspiration to write going backwards, as you put it, to the beginning, when my main character is born. And so I wrote the whole thing. And interestingly, even though it's a series, I think both books have been attracting quite different audience and really kind of stand on their own. And then people have also said, well, which should I read first? Which should I read second? And I said, well, if you are someone who likes things to be chronological, you should actually start with the second book. But if you're someone who wants to follow my journey and the direction that I want, and perhaps see some growth as a writer, I would hope, then you'll want to start with The Healing and go back in time. So I don't think there's one right way to do it, but that's how it came to be.
Oh, that's very cool. I love how it ended up being a dialogue with you and one of your readers, right? That made you decide to go back and provide, because the backgrounds of the story of the characters, and it's very true, because many times readers do want to know what happened before, and this is something I tell all my students, right? Stories happen in the middle of people's lives. They've been alive before. So understanding who they were before is important. So in this book, the one that just released, which is, book 2, you're really focusing on some very deep and emotional journeys. The Holding, right, is about really, father-daughters, right? Father-daughter relationships, and it goes into some abuse as in childhood, of abuse of power. Give me a little bit of, without giving away the storyline, give us a little bit of like what are some of the big things that, you touch on in this book, and, kind of what do you hope that people kind of take away from it as they read it?
Well, that's a great question. Thanks for asking that, Fern. I guess I would say that I was inspired to write the father-daughter relationship from my own relationship with my father, which was one of the most impacting experiences I've had in my life. My father had this gift of being able to see me exactly as I was and think I was pretty good stuff and communicate that to me in a way without even really speaking it, just how he saw me. And so I had all the good experiences to be able to write that from. But then I did experience throughout my life, it is based on real life, and I did experience some of those very difficult experiences in the story of trauma, starting at the age of 4 and all the way really through my life until the healing starts. So that's age 45. And I really wanted to explore the sort of psychology around what makes someone resilient. How can I had a reviewer call it, her scars fortify her. And I liked that terminology. And so that's what I wanted to delve into, is how do I turn this around to show that, well, life does have hardship for all of us, but how do we get through that? How do we come out the other side stronger and pretty kick-ass, really? So that's kind of the message. It's very hopeful. And I hope that readers will agree that I've been successful with that. I did have an absolutely beautiful review come out just last week. And she said that she really felt the hopefulness and the healing webbed and woven into the difficulty. So addressing it, but not sort of glamorizing it, or it's not dark. And because those things are real, I think they need to be talked about. And so, yeah, I'm hoping to shed more light in future novels as well on things that we struggle with to deal with and accept as a society, but that, we want to not talk about it. We feel ashamed, and then we carry it, and then it hurts us and keeps us from becoming our best self. So
yeah. And I love books that help you to look at life and go, okay, it doesn't matter what has happened in your past or what has been the case. You can overcome anything, because to me, I think that is a really important message for all of us, that because we live in such a stressful time, So you mentioned future novels. So what are you working on now?
Well, I just finished the cover design, interior design, and the content I've written a guided companion journal to go with the Holding and the Healing series. It's going to come out in the fall. And I was inspired to do that because so many people were interested in the journaling aspect that is very prominent in the healing and starts about a third of the way through in the Holding. Because, of course, at the beginning, she's can't even write yet. So she doesn't have a journal. But I felt like it was something that resonated with a lot of people. But then a lot of people were saying, I'm interested in journaling, but I don't really know where to start. And I've had a lot of different experiences throughout my life with other people's journals that are guided. And I thought, I'm going to write my own. So that's coming out in the fall. But I also just finished, before I left Saudi Arabia, the first draft of my third novel, which has the title The Rogue Scorpion. And it's branching off into straight fiction. It's not based on real life, although every author admits that their life is in there somewhere. But it's a younger character and exploring some different themes that I think are important. And yeah, I just got the rough done. So when I get back, I'll have that fresh where I've had some space, and I'll dive into my editing, which is probably the hardest part, but also the most rewarding because it really shapes it into what you want it to become. Yeah. And so I'm excited. I'm excited to go home and get back on that, but at the same time enjoying where I am right now.
So
I read Stephen King's book on writing. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
And he said that he writes his goal to write a book a year. And I was like, well, if Stephen King can do it, so can I. So that's my goal. I want to write a book a year. And so far I'm on track. Number 3 is on track.
Yeah, that's a really worthwhile goal and doable, definitely. Although sometimes some of us fail. That was my goal as well, but it's been a couple years now since some of us just we just let that go and we keep going. So thinking about your book, I love what you said, that you have the first draft and you were letting it rest, right? Because that's something that often people don't realize when you're writing. You really do sometimes need to sort of let it sit for a bit before you go back to it and revise. Talk to us a little bit about your process as far as, like, now that you've got your rough draft, what are your next steps? You're going to revise kind of just on your own. Do you have an editor that you work with? What are some of the processes of the molding of your draft to get it ready for public?
Well, the whole process is still pretty new for me and still changing, but it was somewhere along after I finished the healing and found a publisher who was interested. My publisher is Anne O'Connell at OC Publishing, who I think Amy has met before. Lovely, lovely woman who actually became good friends as well. And that got me into the idea of actually becoming a writer. I was a teacher for 30 years. And writing was always a hobby. In Saudi Arabia, I didn't have an opportunity to teach with my husband's work schedule, and I needed something to do and started exploring this writing hobby more. But then as she was working with me to do a developmental edit, and then she also had another editor and a proofreader and all that process, and reading Stephen King's book, and I don't know, just falling into the role of author, I started getting a much more consistent practice. And so I write every day. Even if it's a half hour in my journal on the busy, book tour days, but when I'm at home on a regular work day, I work 6 to 8 hours, and I divide that up between all the different things that you guys know well enough come along with the writing gig of the social media and the marketing and the cover design and all that sort of thing. So I kind of divide it into pieces because my creative brain can only function for about an hour or two, depending on the zone I'm in. And then it needs a rest, a coffee break and a few stretches. And then I get back into other aspects. But when I get back, I have come up with, over the writing of the holding, I'm kind of an intense person, I guess. I have an 11-item editing list. So I have 6 developmental edits that are more related to character development, themes, and plot. And then I have a copy edit that's related to grammar and tense and spelling and that kind of thing. And then I'll send it to Anne, and she'll do a developmental edit herself, and then she'll send it to her proofreader for a copy edit. So it's a long process, but somehow we do it in a year. I don't know how we manage that. I guess I have a really good team. So.
Yeah, and that is a very important point, like with a lot of people think that writers and writing is isolated, that you're by yourself in your little cave writing, but it is a team effort. So I love you talking about that. So as you're looking at your writing goals, and you're moving into just now, you saying, fiction, how did you decide what the story was going to be for your fiction? Because I know, like, when you have, kind of based on a little bit more of you and your life story, you have kind of the what has happened, right? And you tweak it, and you mold it, and you kind of fictionalize it, but you've got like the bones of it. How was it the transition to like, okay, now I'm going to just make up a story, and it's more not tied to anything? How did you find that transition?
Well, truthfully, I think it started with a fair bit of blowback from people in the book, especially my close family, who obviously aren't in the book because it's fiction, right, but they clearly know who this character is inspired by. And so, but I also really felt the healing and the holding were personal stories I needed to tell to move on with my life and get past all of that and transform it into something that felt positive for me and just kind of a whole letting go. And I felt complete and ready to go. I think I always wanted to be a fiction writer. That's what I generally, although I do like based on real life and especially with movies. But so it was those two things working together. I wanted to be in fiction, but I had to get this off my chest. And then I felt ready. And then I just kind of had the inspiration. It was during the launch of The Healing, my first book. I was in my home in Panama with my husband and one of my daughters, and a scorpion came into my room, unwelcomed. Yes, I know, Amy. Terror. Hanging on the folds of a drapes in my bedroom, and I was like, "Yeah, we won't demonstrate," but it was a scream that probably would ruin my microphone.
We've actually heard that scream on this show, Lynda, because a wasp got free in Fern's office right before a show, and so we've actually heard the scream in the show.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I will say I would take probably the scorpion more than the wasp because like the wasp they fly, they can attack you. Like the scorpion, is sort of just there. Yeah.
No,
But,
I'll
my
take
God.
Really fast.
I would do the
Scorpions are
scorpion
pretty fast.
any day. Yeah, scorpion any day for sure. I had one in my bathroom on like a black bath mat that I have, so I couldn't really see it. And at first I thought it was dead, so I poked it. Girl, I'm not even gonna lie. I was up on my bathtub screaming. I mean, I couldn't help it. I don't know how the sound came out of me, but it did. And Josh had to come in, and he didn't really know what to do, so we're both just sitting there screaming. It was a whole thing. So no.
No. That is terrible. Okay, so your scorpion, however.
My husband grabbed a broom and a jar and a dustpan and somehow dealt with this scorpion, got him out alive, Mr. Soft Heart. And I was like, kill it! And he was like, no, we can let him live. Murder all scorpions, snakes, spiders, anything that can come into my home. They can have their life in nature. But we built this house and it's ours. So get your own house. Yeah. And after that, I don't know exactly how it came together, but I had a acquaintance, we'll say some biting words that felt like venom, shall we say. And I just made this connection. And then I was like, that's what that just gave me the inspiration to start to the story. And then the story just kind of unraveled. Once I figured out who my character was and what kind of things I wanted her to achieve and what places I wanted her to go and relationships, I wanted to explore a little bit around some things that I've seen my daughters experience that I don't understand to get a better imagined feel around it. And it just sort of came out in blips and blobs and then poof. Yeah. Like I find with my writing, it just kind of comes to me a lot of time. I haven't had to deal with it, and I should knock on wood yet. And now it's only my third book. So maybe when I'm on my 20th, I'll have a different story to share. But I've found that it pretty much flows. It's there. If I can make time to get to my computer, the book's going to come.
So you're more of a discovery writer, kind of. You sit down and it just flows, just writes. You don't find yourself outlining or kind of itemizing like your character sheets. Like some writers are very much design, right? Spreadsheet galore.
I go back and forth. I start with the idea and get some stuff down in free flow. And then my planner self barges in and says, we need a plan, and gets the outline going. And then the outline might shift a bit as I write a bit more. Maybe I'll write 3-4 chapters and I'll get some insight of, scratch on the outline and add, and that kind of thing. So I go back and forth between those two approaches.
Yeah, I love that. I love how you weave them together. Yeah. So you mentioned that the characters in your, like this book, the one that just released, right, is a young, you're going back to like when she was first born, yes, and kind of what is the age range of your character in terms of the book? Like how much of her life do we see in this book, and then in the first book of Healing, how much do we? What are the age ranges of your character there?
Yeah, so the whole thing goes right back to day one when she's born, and ends in her early 30s. And then the second book picks up when she's 45 and goes to when she's 57. No, I'm not 57 yet. I'm 56. Math isn't my strong point. Let's not go there. Let's say 5 years.
It's not ours either. Not ours either.
No.
It's okay. You are.
Well, you speak for yourself. Math is a strong point for me.
Russell,
I didn't do divorce for 40 years without being able to figure out really quick how I was going to divide stuff up.
Well, I mean, I'm not that far ahead, but I would just be like, half is mine for everything, and I would let Josh do the math because he's the engineer. But As far as me and Fern, we both admit that mouth is our greatest weakness, and we're totally content with that. We own it. So welcome.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
And I have adopted a new methodology with regards to age. You know, I am now rounding down. So from now on, I'm going to round down my age, you know. So, yeah. But
I like it. I like it.
Yeah. So like, are you finding it interesting? Because I think you mentioned that the new book that you're working on, that you're going to be coming back to, is kind of for a younger adult, or are you finding it's in the same genre? What are you finding in terms of genre?
Fiction. I would say it's kind of geared towards women for sure. I'm a feminist, but I love men. Don't get me wrong, Russell. I'm not like anti-men by any stretch, but I just feel my calling feels around women being empowered, women needing to step forward and take full ownership for their full expression of themselves in the world. And that's happening, and it thrills me. But I still think there's work to be done. And so I want to be a part of that. Strong female characters is always going to happen, I think. I might throw in, though, I'm going to maybe challenge myself, fourth book, to try and I'm going to go 50-50 and have two people. This is my challenge for myself, instead of one main character, and one male and one female, and trying to bring those two perspectives. Widen my audience, and also back to our original theme of the self-growth.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I mean, I know that is something that is very, that is a challenge for us as authors, is to take on different perspectives, right? And for us as females to be able to write from a man's perspective. And I know, Russell, that this was a big challenge for you as well. In book 2, you were writing from a female perspective.
Right. In fact, my first book, I did not realize it till after I was finished that I was actually afraid to write from the female perspective during the first book. And my whole intellectual challenge of my second book was to try to write from a female perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Russell, I hope you will be willing to share some tips with me when I delve into that fourth book.
Oh, I'm totally open. Fern and I have had big clashes over cigars at a cigar bar over the struggle of writing from the opposite sex perspective. It's a struggle. And she's actually laughed at me many times at my first draft attempts at it.
But a worthwhile endeavor, right? I think it's very worthwhile. It helps us to expand our perception and our awareness, and get outside of ourselves and try to imagine someone else's shoes. But I imagine it's pretty difficult to go all the way to a different gender, and I'm willing to take the challenge on, but I think it'll be hard.
Well, intellectually, if you're an inquisitive person, you've got to do it, right? I had to do it because it was my block. Therefore, I had to face it.
And I love how you're like already thinking, ahead. You're thinking ahead to like the fourth book and such, because you're like building. Do you find that obviously the first book and the second book, the ones that are out right now that people can go ahead and get, and I encourage everybody to do so. These are connected, right? They're in a series. They are the same characters. Are you looking at as you're moving forward? Are you seeing these the third and fourth book also being connected, or are you considering more like doing some standalone type books? What are you feeling in terms of these next projects?
Right now, I feel like I'm leaning towards the standalone, Fern, but who knows what life will bring between now and then. But that's where I'm leaning at the moment.
Yeah, and these are like, because these are huge decisions, right? As authors, and sometimes they are out of our control, because sometimes characters sort of take over, and then they do their own thing.
The story wants to be told.
Yes.
Yeah.
So tell us real quick, as we're kind of coming to the close of our time together, tell us a little bit about like where people can get your books and some of the things that are coming up for you in terms of your book tour. I know you mentioned a couple of places that you're still going to be heading. Give us a little bit of that so that, our audience can know like where to find you and where to get your books.
All right. Well, as I mentioned at the beginning, I'm a Canadian and I live in Saudi Arabia. I don't have any future plans of being in the United States, although I would love to break that market so much. So we'll see what happens. But right now, my books are available online. So it doesn't matter where you live. They're available online at Amazon, and that includes Amazon in the United States and the UK and Canada. They're on Barnes & Noble online and Chapters Indigo online, but also now in all the stores that I've been in across Canada, they're in store available as well. You can go to my website. I have this gorgeous new updated website I'm really proud of, and had some beautiful teamwork, as you talked about earlier, Fern, really important because my design skills aren't about as bad as my math, but I know what I want it to look like. Right. So I have a great website. It's www.lyndafayeschmidt.com, and you can order my books. Everything's on the My Books page. Sorry for that incoming beep. And that's about covers where you can get my books.
Yeah, and it is a beautiful, beautiful website. I absolutely love it, and it very much resembles and it brands you as an author and what your books are about, but just as you as a full author, which is what Through the Eyes of Authors series is actually on, is focusing about author branding. So tonight, you're not going to want to miss it. You have me yet again talking, and it's part 2 of social media, and this time it is content and different ways to do that. And I guarantee you that these are avenues that you haven't even thought to go down or you're afraid to go down. So tonight is going to be one that, yes, you are probably going to leave overwhelmed, and you're going to have a sheet full of notes. So make sure you bring your notepad and everything like that, and make sure that you come to terms with yourself about being on video, because a lot of the things I'm going to mention tonight will involve that. And like I said, I am not a camera shy person. I am more than happy to kick these off with you. But that's what's going to be happening tonight on Through the Eyes of Authors at 7 p.m. Central. You're not going to want to miss it. But if for some reason you do, you know that we will have your back and it will be recorded. But if you want to join us tonight, message me and I will get you the link. But closing comments, questions, concerns, statements, Russell.
I am so happy that we got to discuss the techniques of writing today. Lynda, I really appreciated that you veered into that avenue because, I just spent yesterday with my editor for about 2.5 hours. And when you were talking about editing as far as drafting, how much joy you can get out of seeing something improve a great deal. And so it was a great interview, and thank you.
Thank you so much, all three of you, Amy, Russell, and Fern. It's a delight to meet you. I feel so privileged and honored to be a part of your exploration of what it means to be an author and support one another. I love how you collaborate and share and have Through the Eyes to give us all fodder to improve ourselves. So thank you.
No, of course, anytime. Thank you for taking time out of your My Day to come and talk to us about your amazing books and just the whole writing journey that you are on as a whole. We cannot wait to have you back, Lynda, for your next book. We are all about celebrating. And I'm just amazed that you just did the flight from Saudi Arabia to Canada. I'm not over that. I don't know. I'm just not. I am very impressed. Very impressed. But everybody, we hope that you have a fantastic rest of your